the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
Merry Christmas!
Ah, the Mirthmobile.
I think we'll go with a little
Mixtape Monday.
Excellent to each other. Party on, dudes!
next party on!
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, guy.
All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to I guess we're gonna call it Mixtape Monday this week because we're talking music. If you were here last week, I apologize ahead of time. I'm already sorry. We are discussing a random list I came across on the internet that detailed out what they believed was the 15 best rock bands of all time. And what's interesting about the algorithm of, phones and everything else, and when you come across certain articles and you click on them, it starts showing you more stuff that's like in that same vein. So with this same article from Singer's Room, whatever the hell that is, I'm seeing all sorts of different lists that could be all sorts of interesting topics for the future. But yeah, we are in full Christmas mode now. I tried to kind of get my Christmas background going. It's not going too good. It's good enough. It's got a little bit of my tree, a little bit of my guitar in there. And that intro makes me laugh every time when I face swap Roman with Al from Quantum Leap. Those of you who are over the age of 35 definitely remember the show Quantum Leap, which came from an early joke.
I didn't realize
of
that was a face swap.
Every time we would try to do a live stream, Roman would struggle mercilessly with technology. And I think there was some jokes made at some point about him basically being like Al when he's constantly like at his little ziggy thing and he's hitting it and like, it doesn't work. So that's one of the rare times I successfully pulled off a face swap video. But yeah, here we are. We survived Thanksgiving. This is definitely going to be the like grumpy old man, my internal grumpy old man that's like, oh, I can't believe it's already December. I can't believe how fast the year is going by, and here we are. But here we are. So yeah, how's everybody doing? Roman, good to see you, buddy. How was your Thanksgiving? How was your weekend?
Well, thank you. It was nice. It was small this year. So not like a big, crazy Thanksgiving. It was fine. Kind of the big event over the last couple of days is Mrs. of the Empire got me a grill for an early anniversary.
Yes,
gift for
saw that.
35th.
Very nice. Congratulations on your new grill.
It's a beaut. But I will say that motherfucking Goebbels wrote that goddamn instruction manual. None of the parts are numbered. They just kind of leave out shit like, hey, by the way, your fucking gas line and igniter are shoved up under the controls. And after you put the grill together, you're going to have to take it apart again. It's fantastic. So it went well. So
You're not mad. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Not mad at all. I'm writing a very strongly worded letter.
So basically it was like, happy anniversary. Here's a new grill. Get to cooking.
1-star review.
Get to work.
Would not recommend.
No, it was not for my IKEA staff. It was Royal Gourmet is the company. It's a very nice grill. It's really expensive, but man, they don't know how to write a manual. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing for the last little bit. And yes, I did buy more records.
Putting your grill together, taking it apart, putting it back together.
You're just better at it the second
time.
time.
John.
The third time.
Three fucking times.
By the third time, you're an expert. And of course, as we always know, you always buy more records. And actually, I have something here.
Quite a little haul of Christmas records I saw.
Oh, yeah. That's we We bought one more this year. We added one more Bing to the collection because it didn't. Our first Bing record didn't have Mele Kalikimaka on it, and Mrs. the Empire's like, I really like Mele Kalikimaka, and so I'm like, all right, I guess we're getting Mele Kalikimaka, sweetheart. So anyway.
Well, spoiler alert, I got you the Mariah Carey Christmas album for Christmas. So
gotta go. Look at me run.
It's the 10-hour
but
one.
real quick, I know we're still just doing our introductions, but in the interest of collecting things, how do you feel about pinball machines? Because I came across this just a couple hours ago. Flip Out Pinball reveals Evil Dead Collector's Edition table, and I couldn't help but think that there's a good chance that Roman would buy this.
Man. Oh my God.
Yes. That's
That
awesome.
is a beaut.
You need to start
If
collecting pinball machines, Roman.
I'm gonna kick my son Jacob of the Empire out of his room just so I can have that.
Just to make a game room.
You got a pinball machine instead of me? Yes,
Yes.
honey. No, son.
Yes. Oh, priorities. And then Devon, you are our friend to the north. I saw you had a little bit of a Thanksgiving celebration of your own. Yeah.
This is
how
correct.
Thursday, even though you still probably had to work again the next morning.
Yeah, I did. My wife's American though, so we had a nice, good Thanksgiving dinner and lots of delicious pie and turkey. When I say turkey, it was actually chicken because there was two of us, and a turkey would be a little bit much. Lots of stuffing, green bean casserole. The works. It was good. Good times.
Then you just have leftover turkey for like a month. Just make it last.
Oh man, turkey sandwiches forever.
Mm.
Oh,
2 days. We only got 2 days out of our leftovers this year. It was fine though.
That's actually probably like a record. It's probably good.
Did you have your wife smuggled up north, or did you kidnap her and bring her up there?
Yes.
Okay.
For legal reasons, I am not allowed to say. I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fifth up
Blair,
there.
how you? Yeah. And Blair, how you doing, buddy? How was your Thanksgiving?
Good. We had dinner at my in-laws and went across the street and down and to my nephew's place and saw the Packers game. So very nice.
Oh, nice. So you kind of had like 2 Thanksgivings a little bit, or was it like Thanksgiving and then go watch football kind of thing? Like
Thanksgiving, then go watch football.
Nice. Right on. Very cool. Very cool. So last week we started this discussion, and I'm gonna scroll down because again it's weird, like the list goes backwards. But
let's do a recap.
We talked about the first half, and I absolutely loved the fact. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's go through the chat real quick. We got a couple people in the chat here. As always, Lady Marine, good to see you. Steph, how are you doing tonight?
Hello,
You should start with all the important people. I mean,
hopefully your back is feeling better. Yeah. Late and gay, yeah. I can't argue with that. Can explain why Coheed and Cambria sucks so badly. Yep, but then also later in the live stream, we're going to talk about why Nick Cave sucks so badly. So we'll dish it out where it's appropriate. There we go. We got Jacob Ironside. Hello to you, sir. I will get to. Actually, that reminds me, I gotta pull up my messages in Twitter, so I have that handy. Messages. All right, yeah, that's good enough for now. All right, so real quick recap. I really loved the fact that as soon as we pulled up this list, and I shared this with everybody ahead of time, but actually it worked out a lot better for me that nobody read it ahead of time, which I don't think I could have planned better, because the very first one, number 15, which, okay, it's bottom of the list, but still, we're talking top 15 rock bands of all time, sent Roman into like a blind spinning rage of seeing red, and like
it's bottom of the list, but in reality, it's bottom of the barrel. So
yeah,
I just love, like, as soon as I pulled it up right away, we just got a series of just expletives from Roman, and
that was uncool.
15 greatest rock bands of all time. 15. Foo Fighters was number 15. I could probably think of a lot of bands that I really don't like that I would put
I would
on
still,
this
yeah,
list
I would
before Foo
easily
Fighters.
above Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Nickelback or Foo Fighters,
So,
Roman?
anyways, not to spend time on stuff we already
Boy,
talked about.
that's tough. Yeah,
We
Doors
had
were
Foo
fine.
Hey,
Fighters, we had
Shieldwall.
the Doors,
Fleetwood
Fleetwood
Mac,
Mac,
good to
who
go.
I
Shieldwall?
absolutely despise. I cannot.
I
stand
like
Fleetwood
Fleetwood
Ah,
Mac.
I like
I
Fleetwood
love
Mac.
that.
Can't deny that. Don't like Guns N' Roses.
Guns
though.
N' Roses, which
are
I know we had
shit
some hot
show.
Yeah.
takes on that one. The Who,
Yeah.
U2, which again, I think we kind of had some hot takes on there where it's like they kind of had their moments, but they're
Well,
not really
no,
relevant.
like you two hate Mono. I mean, I like him as a singer. I hate him as a human. So that's is what it is. He's ruined Ireland.
Metallica, which I think
Good-
before
good
we
to go.
even got to Metallica, everybody on the panel was like, "Oh, Metallica should be on there, but like maybe not so high." And they were like, "Well, there they are."
Yeah.
Because again, we're talking top 15. Like, there's not a lot of wiggle room here. What's up, Shieldball? Good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in
man.
here. What does this say? Sorry, son, your room is up. Oh, so yeah, talk about kicking Jake out. So you can start collecting pinball machines. It could be a game room and a music room. You put your best record player and speakers in there. We got pinball.
there's
hang out.
all kinds of potential in there. There is. I mean, I redid it earlier this year, so I know it's good to go.
And then we ended with the Eagles, which once again, all I can ever think of is the scene in The Big Lebowski when he gets kicked out of the cab because he says he hates the Eagles, and the
I
cab
can see
driver's
that.
like, "Get out of my cab!"
I love the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a great band, except for Glenn Fry, who
So-
deserves. Well, of course, he may be burning in hell for Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah. So it's funny. I don't think they're the very next band on the list, but maybe the next band. Last time around, last week, I think Roman mentioned, and I'm not going to give it away. No spoilers yet. We'll get there, but I think there was a band that Roman was like, "Oh, this is another band that I think belongs on the list, but not as high." And we're going to get there, but let's see what number 7 is.
Nickelback.
Oh, you stop!
AC/DC.
Yes.
I'm fine with this. Actually,
I
I'm fine
agree
with
with that.
AC/DC in there.
So kind of right smack in the middle of the 15-ish.
Yeah.
Like, so
I would say
AC/DC.
so.
All right.
I could see them
Yeah.
even being a little bit higher, but like,
No, I
Just 'cause
can
they're pretty
accept that as well.
iconic.
Well, AC/DC
How-
is consistently song for song just a very good band, and they put out a series of great albums,
Mhm.
which kind of stopped at a certain point. I don't know. I don't know where, it's probably the line is probably different for people, but they. I mean, you look at an AC/DC collection, and you can have like 5 just super fucking awesome albums from AC/DC. Back in Black, just on its own, would put them in this category. But
Yeah.
you have
And
well
Highway to
beyond Back
Hell
in Black.
and
Yeah. So
Power Rage is my favorite.
so like I said, I'm perfectly good with them. And they're one of those bands that overcame the strange adversity of losing their singer and replacing him and coming back and being super strong. Now, granted, it was early on in the career, but still,
Yeah.
they were still established as a band at that point. People who knew the fuck learn to speak, knew who the fuck they were,
Words are hard.
and they still were able to
Yeah,
move past
and-
that into giant stardom.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it's like they kind of had the, I don't want to say luxury because then it sort of like negates Bon Scott's life being cut short. But it's like they had the luxury of like when they did lose their singer, it was fairly early on. We're like, yes, he did do. Let's see discography. Let's look up how many albums was Bon Scott on.
2 or
Because Back in Black, as iconic as it was, I mean, Back in Black was their first album with Brian Johnson, but I mean that
Yes.
one had all the hits on it. That's like that
Highway
had
to
some
Hell.
bangers on it. Yeah,
Before Jailbreak, Power Rage.
yeah.
Um,
High voltage TNT.
yes.
Wait, that's weird. High voltage Australia only, then TNT Australia
No, they
only,
have-
and then
they
high
have
voltage the
Australia only
international
releases.
version.
Yeah.
So let's
yeah.
basically just say, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had 5 albums out before Brian Johnson joined. So I
Oh,
mean, that's
shit.
nothing to sneeze at.
I didn't realize there were that many.
Yeah, they've been
A
around.
couple of them say Australia only, international version,
Okay, so
whatever.
you
but
can just
like
you can get rid
high
of those, push
voltage
those aside.
TNT, Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap, Let There Be Rock,
That's a
and
great
Power
album,
Ridge.
too.
And
Fuck,
then
Dirty Deeds
Highway.
is a
No,
fucking
oh,
amazing
and
album,
no,
Let There Be
sorry,
Rock.
6. Because then Highway to Hell, then Back in
That was
Black
the biggest one.
1980.
That actually broke them.
So
Yeah,
they had
then-
6 albums out.
it goes about the
Uh,
rock, flip the switch,
yeah.
fly on the wall, and then
Razor's
so-
Edge.
But again, it's like I think a lot of their big, well-known hits came out with Brian Johnson. So yeah, they managed to kind of survive that, come back around. And like at the end of the day, let's be real, like Angus Young is really the guy running the show.
Yes.
Everyone else is probably more or less kind of a hired gun, but
Well, all of
you
them
know.
have either died or retired by now too. I mean,
yeah. U2 morphed their sound every few years. In the 90s and 2000s, the difference between Joshua Tree and Achtung Baby is crazy.
yes.
Yeah. That's
But
that's fair.
after
AC/DC
fucking
Solid needs to be higher on the list.
But yeah.
Nightmare, they switched back to more of their original sound again, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So they made a mistake, but didn't. I mean, they embraced that shit.
But I do feel like okay, yes, they're obviously successful in their own right and everything, but they kind of reached a point to where they're basically just making the same album over and over again. Because it's kind of one of those things of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if people are loving it, people are digging it, keep cranking out the same songs, keep cranking out the arena rock stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and they do it. I mean, they really, I think this is like one of the earlier bands that really perfected like the sound of like arena rock. Like a lot of people say the Beatles kind of just barely missed that, where the Beatles stopped touring midway through their short career because sound systems were not up to par yet, to where if everyone is just screaming and losing their minds and everything, the band on stage couldn't even hear themselves, let alone the other band members. So then the crowd couldn't hear them, and they're just like whatever, they're just like banging on the keyboards with their elbows and just strumming away. Just
you sound like Perry Farrell.
But like by the time the Beatles broke up, only like a year or two later, like the Rolling Stones and AC/DC and these bands, like you know, PA systems and sound systems and stuff, the technology advanced to where they could play arenas and actually overpower the crowd. So it's like the Beatles like just missed that window of being able to kind of be not that the Beatles sound was ever like the arena rock sound, but just that they stopped touring because you couldn't hear their music. And then these guys come along and they're like, we're gonna sell out giant arenas and fuck you.
One thing about AC/DC is they never did something stupid like a concept album or change their look overnight or anything like that. It was just them.
Right.
Same thing all the time.
And don't get me wrong, I love a good concept album. I mean, I love Pink Floyd's The Wall, among many other things and stuff, but it's like know your audience and know your lane, and they've stayed in their lane 100%.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, there's a point, like you said, of a concept album, but like when you find what works, stick with it.
You want to really experience AC/DC? Look at Battery. Well, you stick a fork into an electric socket. We don't recommend that. We are not doctors or health experts. I don't recommend that at all.
That'll get your heart going.
Or
Jacob,
conversely,
Jacob, don't do it. Don't do it.
Let me know how that works, or don't.
All right, so this next one, I think this next one is going to be one that Roman said he likes the band, but he doesn't think they should be on the list. So let's see what number 6 is. Nirvana.
Too high. I like Nirvana. Don't get me wrong. I have
AC/DC.
All their album.
No,
not
even fucking close.
Yeah,
I like Nirvana. I like Nirvana a lot. They were the best for me of that grouping of music. Although I like Soundgarden an awful lot too. So
I don't know. I like Alice in Chains a lot more than Nirvana.
You know what? You're right. No, you know what? I'm gonna reverse that.
I'm a Pearl Jam guy.
I would say Alice in Chains.
I like Pearl Jam for maybe the first 2 albums, and then they lost me.
I like one song on their.
These guys
album.
only did 3 albums or 2 albums, didn't they?
Nirvana.
No, so you have Bleach, and then you have
Wasn't Bleach come out after?
No, Bleach was actually a prior release. It just didn't get picked up by anybody, but it was a prior release. And then the Naked Baby one.
Never mind.
That was the name of it.
Nirvana has 3 studio albums, 21 singles, 5 live albums, which
not everybody owns, but I do. And then
that was like their collection of B-sides and stuff, right?
Incesticide?
Yeah.
It was a real hodgepodge of different places
Yeah.
they recorded, and just kind of threw it all together. It's
Guns
a really
N'
good album,
Roses
like I said.
did the same thing after their big first release. They did a collection of demos and B-sides and stuff, and put it together too to get something out there.
What's the last one called? Heart Shaped Box.
In Utero. So
In
yeah,
Utero. That song
Nirvana
was
had
Heart-Shaped Box.
Nirvana had 3 studio albums. So Bleach before Dave Grohl joined, Nevermind, which was like their big breakout, and then In Utero. Obviously there's like the MTV Unplugged, whatever. That's a live album stuff, but three
That's true. So they
studio
have
albums.
5 albums then. 5
Totally,
albums that are worth buying. I wouldn't buy that best of, because the only difference with the best of album is it has like one added song that they kind of pieced together after his death. And I forget. He will make you. What's I don't remember the name of it though. Pardon me. I got nothing.
They're not above it, you two. They're not above it. The Foo Fighters.
Shield Wall. What are you thinking? But the
yes, I remember seeing them.
Oh, I actually.
No, I never saw them. I never saw them live.
So he's asking if anyone saw them live.
No, I never got tickets.
I was but a wee young lad when Kurt Cobain passed away. We're not going to get into that theory, but I don't think Kurt died the way we think he died. And I will. So we talk about, hold on to that theory forever.
The different types of genres of music. It's like right now we have like the Seattle sound. Do you think Nirvana is the best of all of those? I think you said no. You thought Soundgarden was better, or Alice in Chains, or
I prefer Alice in Chains over all of them.
Yeah,
But then you have like your heavy metal, your hair metal, your prog rock, stuff like that. We saw like the Who was on here and stuff. I guess but I wouldn't put Nirvana. I know they made a big splash, but I think it was a timing too. I think.
He made a big splash.
Very hungry for something new.
Sorry,
new, right?
It was timing. I think there was some marketing involved there.
Yeah,
it was just like they were the band that was in the right place at the right time. That they were like, we can market this.
Yeah, I think they're a great band, but I don't think they're this high.
So with Nirvana, I kind of struggle with like a rock list of having them on there, because I guess they're kind of rock, but at the same time, I don't know. They're more punk rock, and I wouldn't really consider that with rock and roll, I guess.
Actually, I don't consider them punk at all.
Or alt rock or something.
And even this
alt rock, alt rock. It's a funny thing when you talk about the different types of rock, because there's a lot of things that kind of blur the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These guys first came out, they didn't know what Seattle sound was. Was that Ricky Ratman from Headbangers Ball? Because this was played 120 minutes, Headbangers Ball, and the normal primetime stuff too. And they'd have Seattle sound or grunge. He was calling it fringe rock or something with Soundgarden and all those guys. Yeah. And then finally grunge came, and then that was just it, grunge.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But see, like even this, like the little paragraph below, it's saying it's like Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic, and Dave Grohl formed a band that would ignite the grunge movement. It's like, first and foremost, Dave Grohl is not an original member. He did not drum on their first album, Bleach. He came in later.
The band Scream out of DC,
and they didn't ignite shit
when they recruited him.
Yeah, he didn't form the band. They didn't ignite anything. Like I said, like Soundgarden had already been around for a handful of years.
Yeah.
Temple of the Dog was already around before that. So
yeah,
it was like there's Soundgarden, then Chris Cornell went off and did Temple of the Dog, but then the rest of the guys from Temple of the Dog went and formed Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
other stuff. Like there were a lot of other bands around before them.
Who's the band? It wasn't Mudhoney, but it was some other band that.
Meat Puppets?
No, it predated Nirvana and those guys, and the lead singer died, and then they split off. They went off and formed all the other bands too.
Not Blind Melon.
No.
God.
I know he died early.
I can't remember.
I got nothing here. Name of it, but it was like so before these guys all got big, there was a band.
Oh, Mother Love Bone.
Mother Love Bone, yes.
Mother Love Bone. That's
if anyone ignited it would have been something like that, And then these guys came later and just got, were the first ones to break out and make it big. But Soundgarden had a hit out before these guys too.
Yeah, because
I would say
they
Death
like
is kind of modern folk.
Soundgarden saw success in the late '80s. Like they were one of the earlier ones to like really get some breakout hits. I like grunge rock, STP, Days of the New, Alice in Chains. Yeah,
I would put almost any of the other grunge bands above Nirvana.
Pixies.
Yeah.
Go above almost everything else we've talked about on this list. They aren't going to be here, but they deserve to be.
They're actually next. Just kidding.
Let's see.
Probably
What we
T
got
Swift.
here. Oh, okay. So
Oh, man.
I will admit, even as much as I love Pink Floyd, I would argue whether or not they are a rock band or some other weird subgenre.
Well, prog rock, but
Yeah,
I accept it because of what they've accomplished. I
They're
myself
iconic,
am not
like-
a Pink Floyd fan.
Yeah.
No, I don't like them. I don't hate them. Don't get me. I just don't like.
right.
them.
Well, good night, everybody. That's it from Roman.
They're way better. than
Roland
Cody
has to
and
leave
Cameron.
now.
Goodbye, Roman.
The Wall, I think is for me their best. A lot of people love the Dark Side of the Moon. I don't like that album. I gave it a listen to. I did what Mrs. of the Empire says to do. Why didn't you listen to it on Spotify before you buy it? And I did. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't buy it. Just wasn't my bag. Just wasn't my bag.
Well,
Almost
Dark-
my bag.
Dark
So,
Side of the
fuck yeah.
Moon. Dark Side of the Moon is definitely a pivotal point in their career where I like Pink Floyd, but I don't like any of their albums prior to that. Like Dark Side is where they really figured out their sound. If I had to pick a favorite album, like I said, The Wall is amazing. That was a great concept album. The movie is really friggin' weird.
Don't do that.
I feel like when you watch the movie The Wall, it should come with a couple of tabs of acid. I don't recommend that. I've never actually done LSD. I don't know what that's actually like, but it's such a weird
Don't do
freaking
drugs,
movie.
kids.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Adults are
Album is
fine.
great. The movie is weird. Whatever. Dark Side is a pivotal moment in their career, but me personally, my favorite album of theirs is hands down Wish You Were Here because it features one of my absolute all-time favorite songs of all time, but then just it's bookended by the Shine On You Crazy Diamond songs where like each song is like 15 to 20 minutes long. It's like half the side of the record. It's just they're so good. Wish You Were Here is that's a great album. And I remember looking at it thinking like, oh, there's only like 5 songs on this thing. And then you listen to it and it's actually like a full like 45-minute, 50-minute long album because 2 of the songs are like 20 minutes long. But
yeah, I wouldn't put them on this list. They would be, I would say if you want to like a top 25 list, I would put them there for sure.
Yeah.
Again, not my bag, but I understand their influence. Like we put up a fucking 5 of your top 15. No, that
way
is
better.
for me is way high.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It's
This is true.
It's like higher than me on Friday. It doesn't belong there.
But no, I get it. Same thing. It's like they're a weird addition to the list because obviously they're a very iconic band, but I don't know if I would call them a rock band.
That's kind of most of the bands on here. You're like, okay, they're good. Do they fit on like a rock list? Like,
Yeah.
kind of, but not particularly. Yeah.
I think they're on the list just because they were so like groundbreaking and of that.
Well, and it's funny, like the back and forth of it was like in 1979, 1980 when main like songwriter Roger Waters left the band, tried to sue the band, tried to like get them to dismantle it, said that they were a spent force creatively, like they couldn't possibly go on without him and whatever. And obviously they did continue on for many albums without him.
They did very well too.
Yeah, and they did well. They're just it's one of those bands that's definitely had their place in music history. Roger Waters was an insufferable prick who thought that they couldn't go on without him, and
Still is.
he still is. The guy just can't keep his mouth shut. He's old. He keeps
He
going
won't
on and on
die.
about different world events and things and stuff, and he like every time you think he and David Gilmour, who you see pictured here, like every time they think like maybe they've reached an age where they're like, hey, we're old, maybe we should sort of like shake hands and make up, and maybe we're never going to be best friends, but it's like, let's put the grudges aside because eventually one of them's going to die sooner than later. But no, it's like Roger Waters still just like every chance he gets, he just doubles down and says like the most ridiculous shit about the other guys in the band. But the argument always came down to like, who is better, David Gilmour or Roger Waters? It's like, well, at the end of the day, Richard Wright, who did all the keyboards and the synthesizers and everything, that's the guy that made the Pink Floyd sound. If they had never had
Fair.
Richard Wright, they wouldn't have had that like psychedelic, all the like the atmospheric background stuff. Like, Richard Wright, who passed away in I believe 2008 due to cancer. That was Richard Wright was Pink Floyd. Like he was the one that made their sound. So everyone wants to argue over David Gilmour or Roger Waters. It's like, well, David Gilmour's still the better musician and still the better showman because I just saw him live about a month ago. I think he took maybe 2 or 3 brief moments out of the show to speak, and really all it was thanks for being here. Let me introduce the band. Whatever. No preaching, no politics, no world events. It just is like he's a man of few words. He just wants to get up there and play.
Good.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Unless they're doing a spoken word tour or something, then you know what you're getting yourself in for.
Oh, which Roger Waters did. So he re-recorded The Dark Side of the Moon and made it really boring. It was basically like, when you use those like those sleep apps on your phone where it just sort of has like ambient background noise to like help you sleep. So it was like
Roger Waters.
It was like that with Roger Waters just reciting the lyrics of the songs from The Dark Side of the Moon over it. Like not singing, no guitar solos, no flash, no nothing. Just like sleep app and then Roger Waters talking, which he released in sync with his memoir because, everybody's super interested in his stupid, boring life. And he did a tour.
Okay, creative. We know you love him. Okay. Let's just end this little glorification set right now. Okay, sir.
So then Roger did a tour to not only debut his Dark Side of the Moon redo with an X, because he's fancy, redo, but he spent the first hour of the show sitting at a desk reading excerpts from his memoir, to which people were yelling and heckling, whatever, and he started telling audience members to fuck off. And it was like, well, they paid money to hear music, dude. Like
yeah, they really get their own ass, don't they?
He's just so arrogant and so just like we didn't pay money to come here and hear you talk. Shieldwall wants to know, what about Monster Magnet? Where do they fall on the list?
I mean, I like Monster Magnet. They're nowhere in. I wouldn't. I'm not even looking at the top 25 though. They're a good band.
I never heard of them.
Atomic Clock goes hard at about 3 minutes in. Huh? Where do the Turtles factor into this list?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the Who's the only group we're going to get from that era. That mod rock stuff. The Zombies and Turtles and there's something definitely when you're
disliked Pink Floyd, not actively hate them. You know what, Roman? You know what? I don't even know what to do with you at this.
No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
And here we are at number 4, the Rolling Stones, who I also cannot stand.
I like the Stones.
This is an easy yes. I like the Stones. They're good songwriting. They're prolific songwriters. I mean, album after album after album of good songs, iconic songs as well. Not just I can name you like 3 Pink Floyd songs because I fucking really don't care for them that much. But because with a band like the Stones, which modern civilized people understand is a good band, you have a myriad of good songs, and they chase bluesy sounding stuff to just the modern straight up rock that they were doing later on.
They did a
And then
disco album too.
Then they all went crazy after.
Oh
the 80s.
no!
Oh
no!
Kind of like it too.
Well, they've been around for so fucking long that unfortunately the Stones, they didn't. They became a parody of themselves after a certain point.
Yes, they all do.
If you're good, you can avoid that. The Stones didn't, though. They fell into the parody. I mean, the Stones aren't even the Stones anymore. It's Jagger and Richards, and I think what's his fuck?
Ronnie Wood. He's
Ronnie
not
Wood.
original member.
No, but he's the last, and at least
original
I
members.
qualify him as original enough because he's been with them for decades and decades.
But
now
now
it's just
their
like session
drummer
guys who are
was
with
only
them.
the first member to die, which is surprising that out of all their years in their career, that the drummer was the first one to die. I thought they had all the mostly original.
One of the guitarists died too originally.
Yeah,
that Ronnie Wood replaced him.
Who Ronnie Wood replaced. But the Stones easy. That's an easy spot for them. For me, I mean
they're iconic.
There's not even a lot of discussion. They belong there.
I'd agree with like top 5, just purely based on how iconic they are, and their
I will
sounds are just kind
say
of synonymous with rock.
For whatever reason, I don't know. Like they're just one of those bands. It's like I never got super into him. Maybe I just don't like his voice. Maybe whatever. I don't know.
You don't like
but I will say, I will say, it is interesting that Keith Richards has always had a very unique way of approaching his guitar playing, in that regular guitar has 6 strings. He has always famously removed the lowest string off of the top of the guitar and tuned the other remaining 5 in like an open G chord tuning, not dissimilar to a banjo. So he has always said when he hears other bands and other people cover their songs, he can always tell that like something's slightly off because they're not doing the same weird like open G.
Well, no one is going to do that.
And like look it up. Let's see if I can find it. It's always hard to tell in pictures, but like
That's
if
amazing.
you look in pictures and zoom in, you can see like his guitars only have 5 strings on them, but he doesn't get custom made guitars to do this. Like he just has like a regular Fender Telecaster, and he just doesn't put the low string on. And it's just like, all right, yeah, tune the rest of it open and whatever. And so that kind of gives way to the blues thing that they have, that a lot of blues guys that have like the slide guitar and like the dobros and stuff are usually tuned in like more open tunings, but they use all 6 strings though.
Like to me, like looking at the era they came from, they were a rock band where the Beatles were really more the pop music of that era. So I mean,
they were sort of the Beatles were like an in-between band where it's like they were still figuring out where they kind of fit into the world.
I'd agree they're more
the
pop
Beatles
or
and
like
the Beach
psychedelic
Boys
kind of stuff.
Felt they were rivals. The Beatles and the Stones never considered themselves rivals because they didn't play the same style of music. Whereas the Beach Boys and the Beatles very much considered themselves rivals.
Like I wouldn't even consider the Beach Boys rock. Like that's very like
it's
almost
pop.
like early. I would call that like early versions of boy bands, like
surfer music.
The Beach
Though
Boys.
Pet Sounds is an amazing album. Pet Sounds is remarkable. It's a very different, weird deal. It's an amazing album.
I remember it's like 30 years older than the rest of the band.
Charlie Watts was a little bit older. The bass player was actually, I think, the oldest. Ronnie Wood.
He's still alive. Ronnie Wood's still alive.
Yep. Because he was working as a bookie while they were still in high school. So they thought he was cool because he was
Bill
like,
Wyman. Bill Wyman. I'm sorry.
Wyman,
Bill
that's
Wyman
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. It's easy to mix them up. They're all British. They all look the same.
Are you saying all white people look the same?
Crooked teeth, slightly inbred.
Zeppelin.
Just British people.
I'm sure we may. I'm sure Zeppelin's up. If Zeppelin's not up in here,
who's next? Who's 3?
3's Nickelback.
Is that it? Is that the 5-string guitar?
Yeah, see, it's kind of hard to tell because it's hard to zoom in. But you can see here, there's like the top string is missing, and that's just like that was his thing. That was what he did.
Maybe it's in his hat.
So I do admit that was unique.
The story behind that actually is he broke his belt on tour and then used his guitar string as a makeshift. Okay. That was the best reason I got.
Okay.
Oh, Queen.
I feel like I kind of have some strong opinions on this one, but I want to hear from you guys first. So Queen, go.
Yeah, I think they're top 5.
Yep.
Top
Okay.
10, definitely.
I'm not sure about top 5 for me specifically. I would say top 10 for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as bands, top 3 is a little heavy for Queen. Now they did do some. I mean, they did amazing orchestration of their music, which was very unique for then and even now. I mean, a band that I think would be comparable in the modern age would be Muse to what Queen did. Now, not the same stuff, but if you look at the construction of the music and just the layering and the different instruments and vocal stylings, Muse and Queen have a lot in common. So they were completely unique for their time period, and they put out. I mean, they had a gaggle of hits too. It's not like they were a one-off. You know, they have 5 fucking songs. They have a ton of songs. They really do go from rock to ballad. They're all over the place, which is, you know, what I like in a band. I don't want the same thing.
Yeah. Later, Shield Wall. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Have a great stream with Cannoli, and I know Max is going to be on the tonight. So, yeah, have a great stream, guys. Thanks for popping in. Always good to see you.
So anyway.
Yeah. So
they're definitely
again, I feel like maybe this is more of a generational thing. I don't know, but Queen, I recognize their talent. Obviously, like they were all very talented artists, and like you said, they cranked out a bunch of hits. But if I just put on like a Queen album, I have a hard time just like kind of sitting and enjoying the whole album. And I'll even go so far as to say this about Rush too. Like the same thing. Rush was an insanely talented group of musicians, but they're one of those bands where I can't just like put on an album and listen to it. It's like they're very hit and miss.
Dubs, my friend.
Where like I mean, Freddie Mercury obviously is like one of the greatest vocalists of probably the last many generations. And then, you know, the songs that they constructed, everything they came up with was great, but their albums were not solid front to back. It was very like, okay, we got Bohemian Rhapsody.
Dude, that's the fucking Ramones. It's the same thing. You end up with some good songs. I think Queen song for song is way better than the Ramones. Although I like the Ramones far better than I like Queen. So, you know, it's that kind of mix and match based on personal taste.
My thing, if it comes down to like if I put on an album, which I know with the rise of, you know, streaming and everything now, very few people sit down and consume an album the way that it was released back when it was on vinyl or cassette or CD, whatever. But
you're old, Roman. You don't count.
What do you mean?
You sit down and say, okay, I am going to listen to this album by this band. And if like every couple songs you're kind of sitting there thinking like, oh, when's this song going to be over? When's this album going to be over? Or it's like, if you're not loving every song on the album, then it's kind of like, okay, it's a little hit and miss for me. It's a little, I don't know.
There are
very talented, very, very talented individuals, but I don't know how I feel about them overall.
See, nice thing about AC/DC is you listen to their album, you aren't even sure what song it is because they all sound the fucking same. So it's fine. But like between Queen, like I like Queen far better than I like Rush. But I think Rush I have maybe 3 or 4 Rush albums.
Moving Pictures.
But when they hit, they hit so hard. And then the other songs you have the background noise songs, which do kind of it does suck. But like I said, Ramones are kind of the same, but the Ramones are almost like AC/DC, where you don't even necessarily know what song it is because it's the same 3 fucking chords.
All the same.
So,
but I think
Queen,
with Rush, though, I think with Rush, like nobody had seen a drummer like Neil Peart before. Like that was very groundbreaking to have.
Fucking dudes.
Rush was very groundbreaking for having a drummer that stood out. Like there's certain bands where you have your instrument, and a lot of people, they're all, the 70s and 80s are all about the guitar heroes and the guys that could get up there and do their solos and everything and stuff. And it was very rare and few and far between that there would be like a drummer that would stand out and be like, oh my gosh, like the drummer is amazing. And then we fast forward to like the late 80s, early 90s, where we have a band like Primus, where now all of a sudden someone's paying attention to the bass player because like the bass is the driving instrument. So it's like every once in a while you have these bands that like they push their instrument to where it's not a band member that you would normally pay attention to. And even Flea, like for all the issues that the Red Hot Chili Peppers have, I mean, Flea is like, he's another one of those top bass players that,
Iron Maiden is a big bass driven, he plays bass like a lead guitar.
Yeah, when you have these instruments that are not typically have these instruments that are not typically lead instruments, but all of a sudden, because more often than not, people know the name of the lead singer of a band, and then that's about it. But all of a sudden, if somebody knows the name of the drummer or somebody knows the name of the bass player, it's like, okay, they're doing something unique.
Or like Yes for the keyboards and
I
couldn't name a single member of Yes. I have one of their albums. Actually, it's Mrs. the Empire's album.
Wakefield.
Who?
Wakefield, was he the big keyboard player?
I have no idea. I believe you, Blair. I believe you.
All right. So
number
2, Led Zeppelin. There we go.
Yes.
Led Zeppelin. I feel like this is one of those bands that, me being again of a younger generation, I guess I'm like right at the very bottom cusp of being a millennial, and I resent that term, by the way, but I'm like right at the cutoff that I am technically a millennial.
You're more than technically.
I love Led Zeppelin, but as I've come up in different companies that I've worked for, different shops that I've worked for, and I talk to the old timers like Roman and many others that are around his age, or maybe a little bit younger,
the ancients, we shall call them.
I've found that more often than not, Led Zeppelin is not as well regarded and respected as I would have thought. A lot of people, I think, probably would have put Rolling Stones above them on this list. I think Jimmy Page is an absolutely amazing guitarist. Robert Plant, in his heyday, was an amazing vocalist, but he's one of those ones that he didn't take care of himself, and his voice was trashed by about 1980. It's shown on a lot of the later live recordings during their final tours before John Bonham died, and they decided to just call it quits. But in their heyday in the 70s, man, Led Zeppelin was a force to be reckoned with. I think like their peak albums, and I'm talking before Stairway to Heaven. Like, fuck Stairway to Heaven. Okay, that was their big stupid hit that like, no, their first 3 albums were freaking amazing. Like,
yeah, I like a handful of Zeppelin songs, and that's it. I keep wishing they would put out a best of, because I'm not buying any of the Zeppelin albums, because I'm not buying it for the 1 or 2 songs that I like.
Just buy 1, 2, and 3.
I know I'm an anomaly in my age group too. I'm just not a big
ancient age.
Immigrant Song, I think, is their best song. I love Immigrant Song. It's just fucking kicks ass from beginning to end. But
yeah,
I mean,
Kashmir,
they have
for me.
Kashmir's good. Kashmir's a good song.
But unfortunately, Kashmir was on one of their later albums where the rest of the album was not great. That was like the shining, crowning achievement of that album, and the rest of it was a lot of Jimmy Page on heroin.
Fair enough.
No, but I do understand why other people appreciate them as much as they do. I get it. I mean, it's like Iron Maiden is never going to be anywhere on any of these unless you do like a straight up metal list.
Which is popular opinion. I don't like Iron Maiden, so there's that.
That's because you don't like good music. John. We've established that.
Leave the stream leaving as you leave. We'll take over now. Thank you, sir. Well, none of
the actual music fans talk.
Yeah, Judas Priest, I think, should be on here.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Or
Rock
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But like 9 Inch Nails or Ministry, we don't have any of that.
This is, I think they are trying to go. I think, I can't get in the side of the head of whoever put this fucking list together, but I believe they were trying to put together a rock list, just straight up rock.
Yeah.
Now, some of these do, like Nirvana. That's the line
not straight up rock.
but Led Zeppelin is straight up rock. AC/DC straight up rock.
Like you're like,
so I understand these placements.
But no, I agree with you, Roman, there that it's like when you start getting into, and this is going to sound like super douchey, whatever, but once you start getting into the subgenres, like no, Nirvana is not straight up rock. U2, honestly, hey, U2 is not straight up rock. Pink Floyd is not straight up rock. Like there are a lot of bands on here that are like, they have their place in music history, but if we're talking about just strictly like rock and roll, like is that like rock and roll? You think AC/DC, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, like rock and roll, like just bare bones, guitar, drums, vocals, no glitz and glamour, no.
It's like Rush to me wouldn't belong on a straight up rock list.
No.
Well, if you look at just bands in the rock genre, but if you got to throw in all those subs. The subs are what fuck it all up. And they do.
Yeah, because they get like Nirvana and all that stuff. It's like, okay, that was the Seattle grunge scene. That was, that was a lot.
But you're putting Nirvana in over a band like Rush. I mean, maybe they're on here, but I just read down. Actually, that if Rush is the number one,
we only got one more to go. So,
so Nirvana over Rush as a subgenre of rock. I can't pick Nirvana, even though I like Nirvana better.
But then I like like industrial, like Ministry and Nine Inch Nails and Front 242.
Rammstein,
yeah, but then you also have like like the rest of your thrash bands, like your Slayers and Anthrax.
Slayer.
But then we have but all those mod bands in the '60s. The Turtles and the Zombies, and like what about like the Motown? Would that be rock? Or would that be more R&B?
Yeah, that's R&B.
That's where the line starts to blur a little bit.
No, but it is.
We talk about every year when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does their shit, and a majority of the acts being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I would disagree that are not rock and roll. And I wouldn't say that most of those people don't have their place in like music history and stuff, but it's like I wouldn't call it rock and roll. So like the Motown, the R&B stuff, it's like you're starting to blur the lines a little bit.
Because that's not even a rock or a subgenre of rock. No. That's just its own fucking style of music.
This one,
when we start talking metal and stuff, that is definitely a subgenre of rock.
Yeah, this one I know. This isn't number one. I don't know where this band falls into the category, but
I look fantastic. Just saying.
I'm glorious. Look at my abs. They're so good.
That's what happened when Roman stops drinking beer.
It's true. It's true.
Man, okay.
Like what would we call this band? I don't even know what we would call it.
Is that a cucumber in my pants?
Or you just had to see me?
Yeah, like a cod piece going on there, buddy. This guy's on zipper and girdle. Girdle.
Spinal Tap, where he's got like the cucumber wrapped in foil.
Derek Smalls. That's Derek Smalls.
Yeah, Van Halen's on this list. Van Halen's a great rock band.
That is actually fair. So if we're talking like strictly like straight up rock and roll, that was probably
they should have bumped several of the other bands.
Van Halen, Motley Crue.
I don't like Motley Crue. They Vince Neil. He's not. I
don't like them either. But I'm just saying, if we're talking straight up rock and roll, like they'd be on here before a lot of these other bands.
But then you have like the Ramones not here, or the Sex Pistols, or the Damned. But they're punk and goth. When they
like I said,
begin goth, but
I guess that's what the idea was. But when we throw those other bands on this list anyway, which are definitely don't belong here either. So we didn't put.
But
we didn't use, by the way, for those watching both on YouTube and Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, stop by YouTube, say hi. It helps the channel out.
Also, make sure to like the stream and share it out there. Spinal Tap. There we go. That's a solid one.
Hey John.
So are we ready for number one?
Hold up. Can you just share my screen real quick?
Oh, here we go.
I want to be the one to so we have our list here, obviously, but I want to be the one that introduces the number one.
Oh boy.
So we got 3 for Queen, 2 for Led Zeppelin, and Nickelback is number 1.
Son of a bitch.
Nickelback is a Canadian
Yeah,
rock
man.
band formed in 1995
Oh God.
in Alberta, where I currently live. So there you go. I've been
He's
spending
Canadian,
the last
folks.
like 4
It's not
minutes
our fault.
changing
Can't
everything
control
on
him.
this page.
Oh,
What kind of genre this would be? Lame
that's pretty good, dude.
Whoa.
gay
Oh, boy.
music?
Going through it and changing all of the coding on the page so that
People
there
are
you go.
bailing left and right now. They're bullshit. Fuck these guys.
Bare naked ladies are way better, dude. Come
I
on.
love bare naked ladies.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Oh,
That was solid. Well,
All right,
played.
are we ready? Are we ready to find out what Singer's Room
What are they gonna
thinks
do to
is
us
the
after-
number one rock band
Drum roll, please.
of all time?
disagree.
Yeah. No surprise.
They were a great pop band. They were probably more influential to modern music than almost any other band.
Agreed, but not rock.
But they're a pop band. They were a great pop band.
Yeah, Stones are more bluesy. These guys are just more pop.
Yeah. It becomes
I
a thing.
thought
Like,
this might happen.
it becomes
But
a
what
thing
you-
of like when you look back at certain acts, like I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, I don't see what the big deal is about Elvis. I don't see what the big deal is about whatever." It's like you have to look at the time period and kind of
Yes,
what
100%.
was out, what was available. Was this new? Was this groundbreaking? Were they maybe considered rock and roll at the time? Yeah. What do they sound like now? They sound like a pop band now. But in the early 60s, okay, I can bend a little bit on like at the time that they came out and played on the Ed Sullivan Show and had their big debut and everything. That was rock and roll. Overall, all these many decades later, there's a lot of other bands to compare them to now.
Yeah.
Well, even at their time, the problem was, I mean, they owned so much of the airwaves that you didn't see a lot of the other bands, like the Kinks, for instance, which I'm a huge fan of the Kinks. I know you don't like them,
Oh
but
my god, I hate
they
the
were
Kinks
they
so
were.
much.
I like the Kinks.
The Kinks need to
better
be
than the-
abolished from the face of the earth. Like,
Again, John doesn't understand music. He's young. It's not his fault. The Kinks for me are better than the Rolling Stones easily. Now they don't have as many hits because
it's like,
again,
how
it was
many
just-
pencils can I stab into my ears? The Rolling Stones, the Kinks. I don't think.
I don't go take a bath, get some bubbles going, light some candles, and listen
And
to
drop in a
Canada.
toaster.
Exactly.
Okay, but you know what, Roman? You know what? Maybe this is my problem.
You know what the worst part of all is? I never learned to read.
I feel bad now. Now I feel
Maybe
bad.
that's what it is.
I feel bad for admonishing him.
You're a bad father.
I am a bad father. I'm a bad father. I'm still disappointed in him, but I'm a bad father. I can accept the Beatles here. Yeah, like I said, just for quite honestly, Led Zeppelin, if we were just doing straight up rock list, probably should have been at the top. But if we're starting to make these shifts, but we didn't make this list again. We obviously did not make this fucking list.
No, we just wanted to argue over it.
But I'm hot and cold. Like I like the Beatles a lot. I think the Beatles are brilliant. I own a lot of Beatles, and I bought those 2 fucking expensive redos of the blue and red albums. But like I said, I think you're right, John, as far as context goes. But whatever fucking monkey put this list together is modern day. They understand that. They understand the Beatles are more of a pop sensation of the time period than they were a fucking rock band.
They're like the original
Beatles
boy
up
band.
against Nirvana. The Beatles and Nirvana don't belong in the same fucking category.
No,
They're nothing alike.
Exactly.
They are nothing alike.
no.
So
Exactly.
if you're gonna put the Beatles in here, you need to put the fucking Beach Boys in here. You gotta bump somebody out for that. And again, I'm not qualifying the Beach Boys being on a rock list either.
Or even like Duran Duran. They were a great rock band,
They were. They were. I mean, it's again. Whoever did this didn't do a very good job of breaking down genre stuff. Like I said, Led Zeppelin and the Beatles on the same list is a little bit weird unless you're talking about just kind of overall
That's strange.
bands. As soon as you throw the title rock
in
on
the
there, there are
same
certain
list, we
expectations.
had Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, the Beatles, Queen, Fleetwood Mac, U2. I mean, it's all over the map.
Fleetwood Mac, Beatles, and Nirvana all on the same list for top.
But I will
Yeah,
fully
no.
admit that when
No.
I came across this list and came across this article, I specifically picked this as a topic because I knew if absolutely nothing else at all, it was going to get Roman lit up, and that's fun for everybody.
Yeah,
What are you saying?
it's not hard. He's old and
Implying
grouchy.
here.
So
I am
Oh,
surprised
Jacob,
Rush
come on,
is
man.
not on this.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that
That's
we're
fair.
at-
like you said,
I
like,
don't
if
mind it.
Queen
I
is
hate
on
those
here,
fuckers, but I'm still surprised.
like if Queen is on here, I'm kind of surprised that Rush wasn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like I
again,
said,
this is just
yeah, I
it was
agree with
all
that
over
one.
the map. It's all over
their
the place.
hodgepodging is very confusing to someone looking at the list. We being
Like
that
maybe they
someone.
wrote a bunch of band names on some dice and like rolled the dice and they're like, okay, that one.
What's
That's
number
number
one?
8. That's
Now,
number
if you
7.
were to go
That's-
like album sales or top 15
Yeah.
British or some
See, there-
other way of doing it, but yeah, this is like everything's
Yeah.
on here.
is this
And
all
it's
over the
weird
place?
because
It's
I'm
everywhere.
glad there's not like Michael Jackson or some fucking shit like that on here. I fucking
No,
hate
this
that.
is bands.
As far as
Yeah,
Taylor
just
Swift not
individuals.
on there, honestly.
Who?
Well,
Taylor Swift.
No.
That's like if you're honestly a better name for this list would have been like iconic bands, like top
That would
15
be-
iconic
yeah.
bands.
It's kind
Yeah,
of like
I
talking
could
about the
feel
Rock
that.
and Roll Hall of Fame, where it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
No,
anymore. It's the
it's
Music Hall of
stupid.
Fame.
And it bothers me.
this was a very disturbing list, John.
Or
I
like
don't want
most
you to go back to that
influential
website.
bands.
Yeah.
That's
Influential,
acceptable.
that works good. Like, the Beagles are good, but they're overrated. Wait, what?
I'm going to qualify it as a typo, but maybe not. Maybe there were Beagles. Maybe Jacob just thinks Beagles are okay. I'm a Golden Retriever fan myself, but you do you, brother.
I like Border Collies and Huskies, but I mean Beagles are good. Bugle Boy, good concept pop.
Shan Sivakum. I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong, but hello
well,
to you.
Welcome.
Howdy.
We're in the closings here, but
yeah.
It was an interesting conversation. It was a little bit confusing because of the kind of.
Well, you're always easily confused, though. That's the thing, though.
I am very old. I
Yeah.
am very
It's the
old.
amnesia.
What?
This is
It's
are we
getting
doing?
hit too many times in the head, probably in
Where
the
are my
military.
pants?
Potties and
Honey?
huskies.
Where are my pants?
Pitties.
What's a potty? What's
Pitties. Pit bulls and huskies are this.
Yeah.
I don't.
But the other one is funnier.
prefer them. They all look like Mike Tyson. Got me too. It did. It moved right past you.
Oh boy.
Do a list of like top like college radio or top
Yeah.
industrial or some genre related stuff.
Well, something I think
That
more
could-
genre specific.
Porn, yeah.
Even then, Blair, we are going to have
Deftones.
crossover stuff. That's inevitable.
That-
but
Yes.
but that list was too fucking.
All over the
You
place.
know,
I've got a couple other lists from them that could be interesting over the coming weeks and months, but that was fun. I thought that was a good one. We spanned it out into 2 weeks. I had another topic pulled up here, which now I'm going to save for Wednesday, but just a little sneak peek here. Jimmy Kimmel, which fuck that guy, but anyways, Jimmy Kimmel
that
had
guy.
like
heavy on the fuck that guy.
Jimmy Kimmel had apparently like a newer hardcore punk band called Knocked Loose perform on his show recently, and people are losing their minds and like demanding a formal apology and saying that like my children were watching the show and they were in tears. Mosh pits don't belong on late night TV, and we couldn't understand the
Disavow.
lyrics and the whatever. And I was like, I can't believe that people are so sensitive. That's something that wasn't even necessarily like vulgar or offensive. It was just like more of a hardcore band performing on a late night TV show, and people just like lost their minds. So
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about this one on Wednesday for after work beers. I'm going to save this one, but it's really fascinating that in this day and age that like people are still this soft that I get it. If somebody says something you don't like and they're like, I'm offended, I still don't care that you're offended, but whatever. Okay, somebody said something that you're offended by. They're just like freaked out by the fact that like he had like a heavy kind of hardcore whatever band perform on the show, and they're like, my children were in tears. It's like, well, you're raising
Why are
a
they
bunch of
watching fucking
sissies.
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah,
That's the
really.
question.
Right? Isn't he on at like 10 or
Dude.
11 o'clock at night? But even then, it's like you're raising a bunch of sissies if your children were in tears watching like a heavy
children are
band
weak
perform.
because you're weak.
Oh my gosh. But we'll see if he bends the knee, because he usually does. But strangely enough, he did have that band The Defiant on a couple months ago, which I don't even think he realized what he was doing.
I don't think he did.
On.
If he'd known, he wouldn't have had him on.
I like the Defiant,
No.
actually. They're really good.
I'm supposed to be at their
Prada's
show right
awesome.
now, and they canceled it last minute.
That's so sad. I didn't realize that's who you're going to see. That's acceptable.
So
I like Pete.
I think what happened was yesterday and tomorrow and this next coming weekend, they're playing in surrounding areas with Social Distortion. So Social D was the headliner to draw people in and sell tickets. Their show here in San Diego, The Defiant, was the headliner.
Nice.
And I'd never heard of the other band. So I think the venue probably canceled it due to low ticket sales. They won't speak up or say why the show is canceled, but the show is canceled. They're like, oh, we'll do our best to reschedule, but they're doing all the other shows as Social D, but they're not doing San Diego. And it's like, just say you canceled it because of low ticket sales.
I mean, California for the Defiant isn't really like their prime audience.
But their other 3 shows are within like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive of here.
Yeah.
But Social D is the draw. People are buying the tickets to see Social Distortion, and the Defiant is the opener.
In San Diego,
they were the
sucks.
headliner. They were the headliner here, and they probably just didn't sell enough tickets. But it's a really small venue. They probably, I'm like, how low were the ticket sales? Like, how bad could it have been?
They should have played Casbah. It would have sold out.
Oh, yeah, that would have been even smaller. All right, guys. Anyways, this has been fun. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of the Let's Argue About Good and Bad Rock Bands of
And why Nickelback is number 1.
Only if you live in Canada.
Oh, man. I didn't realize they're from Alberta, so that's funny.
I thought they were Australian. Whatever.
Canadian, Aussie, same thing, kind of. We're cooler.
At the end of the day, nobody really cares.
You're not wrong.
So, Roman, what do you have going on this week, buddy?
All right. Well, again, thanks. This was fun. It got weird. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it very much. Thanks
It always gets weird.
for doing this. So next, so this Thursday coming up on December 5th, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard, as always. This week we're doing V for Vendetta, which I'd forgotten how good a movie that was until I watched it again. I'm like, man, I need to watch this. More than I do. And we're gonna have Left Eye Ego on and the Gourd King. Always, those 2 are always a lot of fun. The following week we're just gonna be doing a free range. It looks like I'm gonna be having Lance Nielsen on. He's his book is on the market now, so he wants to be doing some plugs. He's always a great guest anyway. And then the week after that, we are doing our special Christmas show, which is going to be a tremendous amount of fun. We're doing a live reading of How the Grinch Stole Christmas and talking about our favorite Christmas stories. So that's
I didn't know you could read, Roman.
Stop. Stop.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's so
Jacob.
good.
Nickelback is a fan.
Nice.
Oh, they love
That's
it.
great.
They love the codpiece,
man.
Roman.
The chick's digging.
I look good in those pants, just saying.
And Blair, you got anything going on this week, buddy?
No, just laying back, doing a bunch of Christmas shopping,
Oh, that'll be fun.
getting ready for the holidays. So yeah.
Yeah, it's weird like having Thanksgiving so late. I remember last year, like it was early, And then we're like, oh, we get like an extra week, whatever. Now I'm like, Thanksgiving is over. And I'm like, oh shit, it's already December. Like I said, I'm like the old guy that's like, oh, I can't believe how fast the year is going by. And like, here we are. It's already December 2nd.
We got like a less than a month between the end of Thanksgiving and Christmas this time.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Usually you got like a month and a half, but it was like boom.
Not this year.
Yeah, we got slammed with like, I don't know, 10 inches of snow, and it's like, where'd this come from? And it's like, oh, it's November. I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Devon, anything else coming up interesting or fun with your week, eh?
No, nothing in particular. Check out my Instagram, salmon_outdoors. That is SALMOND, like the fish, but with a D on the end.
Salmon.
I'm gonna smack you. I'm gonna come all the way down to California and find you. We'll share a beer and then I'll slap you.
That's how we're gonna get you to come out for the Vegas meetup. I'm just gonna keep calling you Salmon outdoors until you come to Vegas. It's in April. You got time to plan.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, they haven't announced it yet.
One for Steph as well. For always being late.
No, I know. Like, obviously, nothing's announced yet, but we always know it's sometime in April. And then as soon as Nerd Rock announces it, make sure to RSVP, because I made that mistake last year where I was like, I'll just show up and see how it goes. And thankfully, I managed to get in, but I didn't realize that they're really like, Mrs. Nerd is really putting the hammer on people coming in there, man. Like, you got to make sure you got an RSVP, you got a spot,
well, it was they had such a big demand. Plus, they don't want to cause problems with the venue because they have a capacity.
They need a big
obviously they have a fire code and stuff too. I get it, but
I get the theme of the place, but still, it needs to be bigger.
Yes, it's getting bigger.
I guess it is. I guess I just didn't realize like how big these meetups had gotten until I think it was like the one in UK where they said like it was like chaos, and they're like, oh, like there's too many people trying to show up, and like we got to start putting a cap on this.
Well, they have a big British group fan base. Plus, they never go there, so obviously everybody was trying to get to it. Here.
Yeah.
But even apparently when they come to Vegas, I mean, they had to do 2 nights because so many people signed up. And no, like I said, like don't get me wrong, I totally understand, I totally get it, but I think I just kind of went into it a little bit naive, thinking like I'll just make my way in there, and I'm like, no, I understand. Like you have to cap it off at some point.
Yes,
and they have to screen because I mean they wouldn't want the likes of you there. So I mean,
no, that's fair too. Like Roman barely snuck me in there just because Melissa likes him, and he was like, "He's with me," and I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
I'm like, "This is my son. Is it okay if he comes in? I'll keep him up."
He's a little slow. I have to be with him at all times.
I need an adult. I need an adult. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and sign off. But thank you guys all for joining us for this discussion. I'm gonna see if I can find more lists like this that we can argue over in future weeks.
It was a fun concept. I liked it.
Yes, good times.
But for now, I will see you all on Wednesday for After Work Beers, where we can talk more about that weird band playing on the Jimmy Kimmel Show and people demanding a formal apology. But until then, my comments just went away. Where did they go? Thank you, Jacob, Lady Marine, Shan, and I believe that might have been it. Anyways,
Shield Wall was in here.
Yep.
Shield Wall. Yeah, Shield Wall had to take off for the cannoli stream. Yep. Thank you guys all so much for being here. And I will see you on Wednesday. The rest of us will see you on Monday. Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
And where is my outro? I know my microphone is not muted. Here we go.
Merry Christmas!